So a third consecutive Premier League defeat at home against Wolves. Another poor performance. In this video, I'll review that match. Hello, my name is Richard and welcome back to my channel. Over and over and over again, the Positive Arsenal channel. It's certainly getting harder to remain positive at the moment, isn't it, with the performances that we're putting in. In this video, I'm just going to look back on yesterday's defeat at home to Wolves, our third home defeat in the Premier League in a row, which was a really, really poor performance, wasn't it? Just before I do that, I just want to make sure that you are subscribing to my channel. If you like what I do, please click on the subscribe button down in the corner there. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up as well. If you've got any comments at all about the game, about the performance, about anything to do with Arsenal at the moment, please drop them in the comments box because I do love to hear from you guys as well. So with the team news in, there wasn't too many surprises, was there? Mikel Arteta stuck with the same formation, the 4-2-3-1 that we played at Leeds last week. I know it didn't really work in that game, but we did play a large chunk of that with 10 men. And I certainly felt it was worth sticking with that same formation. In terms of personnel, there was only two changes from that Leeds game. Of course, Nicolas Pepe was suspended, so Bukayo Saka came in. He played on the left of the three, and then in defence, David Luiz was back following, of course, the birth of his child last week, and he replaced Rob Holding. So the starting lineup was Leno in goal. There was a back four of Bellerin, David Luiz, Gabriel, and Tierney. It's the two holding players in midfield were Ceballos and Xhaka. We then had the three, which was Willian on the right, Willock in the centre, and Saka on the left, and then Aubameyang up front. So on paper, certainly a good side. Looked like it had attacking intent, and it was important that we put in a performance. Really, the result, yes, we needed a result, but I was more looking at a performance from the team, bouncing back from the recent poor performance, especially at home. We hadn't scored, had we, in the last two Premier League games, so that was important. And we certainly had a team out there. I thought we'd pick the team to win this game. So what went wrong? Another really, really poor home performance, wasn't it? We need to give Wolves credit. They came and done a job and they played really well. Of course, the first half was overshadowed somewhat by a terrible clash of heads really early on between David Luiz and Raul Jimenez. It left David Luiz with a big gaping cut in his head. And although he managed to play on for the rest of the first half, it was clear he wasn't quite right. A lot of people questioning whether he should even have carried on playing as blood was seeping through the wound. But on the other hand, Raul Jimenez didn't move, did he, for ages on the pitch. Took a lot of time to get all the medics on. It actually took about 10 minutes to get him off the pitch. He did go to hospital. And as far as we're aware, he is okay. But it does look like it could be quite a serious injury. So we do obviously wish Raul Jimenez all the best. But to be fair to Wolves, they regrouped after that injury and they came back in the first half and played really well. They took the lead midway through the half, a much delayed half. And again, it wasn't great defending from Arsenal. It was Adama Traore, of course, their danger man down the right-hand side. He got past Kieran Tierney, put in a good cross. Then Donker should have scored a header from about 4 yards, but he hit the bar. But when it came back down, the first player to react was Neto, and he was able to get the ball past Gabriel on the goal line and give Wolves the lead. Of course, a team that's not scoring, the last thing we need is to go behind against a team that are so solid at the back. But to be fair to Arsenal, we actually responded quite well. We did get ourselves level just 3 minutes later. Our first goal technically from open play since the beginning of October. It was actually a short corner routine. Willian played it to Bellerin. Bellerin gave it back to Willian. It was a good cross actually, and it was Gabriel rose at the far post, a really powerful header that gave Rui Patricio no chance and made it 1-1. And suddenly you thought, you know what, maybe we're going to show a little bit of character today. Maybe we are going to come back and get a result in this game. But we didn't. And in the end, it was Wolves who regained the lead before half-time. Traore again began to move a good turn in the middle of the pitch, played the ball through to dangerous Neto. His shot took a slight deflection off Bellerin, but that's no real excuse for Bernd Leno's really poor effort of saving it. He pushed it straight back into the 6-yard box. But again, we had defenders there who could have reacted, but we didn't. It was Podence who reacted quickly, skipped past Gabriel and then finished really well to put Wolves 2-1 up at half-time. Again, we were looking for reaction in the second half, wasn't we? We wanted Arsenal to come out and really have a go at this. And yes, maybe it was a little bit better than the previous two home games. At least we did put a little bit of pressure on Wolves, but the quality just isn't there in the final third. We didn't really create many chances at all. Probably Saka had the best chance. Bellerin pulled the ball back from the right. He just didn't get a good connection on it at all. Reiss Nelson came on later on for Willian, actually looked quite lively. He had an opportunity as well. It was across his time from the left-hand side from Saka. Fell to Nelson at the far post. He took a touch on his chest, but under pressure, he couldn't let the ball drop and he fired it over the bar. And then right near the end, it was Aubameyang who has a terrible game, let's be honest, when it was across from Bellerin. And it was a really poor header, actually. He got into a good position, but just didn't get a good enough connection on it. And it went harmlessly wide, and that was it. So although we did put a little bit of pressure on Wolves in the second half, we didn't really create any chances, and Wolves were quite comfortably held on. In fact, they could have had 2 or 3 more goals on the break. So really, really disappointing performance from Arsenal. Another defeat, and we're down to 14th in the league. Man of the match. I mean, who can we give man of the match to after that? None of the Arsenal players really stood out. I guess if you're going to look at the best players once again, it's from the opposition, isn't it? Neto was brilliant for Wolves. Traore was dangerous. He had a hand in both goals. He didn't have a great game overall, but he was effective, I suppose, a lot more effective than any of our players were. And obviously Podence as well took his goal well, didn't he? But for Arsenal, it was really poor all round, wasn't it? Leno was poor for the second goal. Didn't look particularly commanding at all. In fact, defensively, we didn't look great. Midfield was non-existent, and we didn't have a lot going forward, did we? I suppose if we're going to pick a man in a match for Arsenal, I guess the only real candidate for me would be Gabriel. Not only for his goal, which he took really well, a really powerful header. He also played quite well defensively as well. Probably the pick of our defenders, and probably overall the pick of our players. Let's not get too excited. It wasn't a great performance even from Gabriel, was it? But he was probably the best of a very poor bunch. So I'm going to give man of the match in this game to Gabriel. Well, I mean, what can we say? This is our worst start to a season since 1981, which was actually my first season coming to Highbury. So I do remember that season quite well. But back then, it was a very mix and match team. We had players like John Hawley playing. This is a team full of international players. There's absolutely no excuses for the level of performances that we're putting in. I'm starting to question whether or not Arteta's lost the dressing room. And there certainly seems to be issues there. The players that he managed to get a tune out of, didn't he, towards the end of last season as we won the FA Cup. They're now not playing for him at all, are they? It's not good enough. I thought Aubameyang's performance yesterday was as poor as I've ever seen. And there was one thing in the first half that really summed up where he's at the moment. It was a great cross actually in from the left-hand side. I think it was from Saka. And Aubameyang stood there waiting for it to come to him. Conor Coady, the Wolves defender, reacted and got the ball away. If Aubameyang was really serious about scoring a goal, he would have put himself into it. He would have thrown himself at that ball, made sure he got there first. Think back to players like Ian Wright, even Alexis Sanchez, people that would put themselves out to score a goal, and he just wasn't prepared to do it. He's got his new contract. Whether that's the reason, I don't know. All of this just makes the decision to leave Mesut Ozil out of the squad for footballing reasons even more ridiculous. You can't tell me that he wouldn't give us a little bit more, certainly in the creativity side, than his current team. Playing Joe Willock yesterday in the number 10 position when we've got Mesut Ozil sitting at home playing on his PlayStation is just absolutely ridiculous. Now, if that was solely Arteta's decision, then Arteta's got to take responsibility for that. What worried me a little bit as well was yesterday in his press conference, he's almost accepted the fact that he's going to get sacked. He didn't look like he had any fight left in him for the job. I think he's realised it may be a too big a job for him. The North London derby coming up, of course, next week. A poor performance there, and I think Arteta could be out. I don't want that, but how much longer are we going to be able to give him for these performances that are steadily getting worse? We're drifting further and further down the table, and now we're looking over our shoulder at the bottom three as opposed to looking up to the top four. So it's not a great situation, is it? Something needs to change quickly because it can't carry on like this net anymore. So there you go. That's my review of yesterday's game against Wolves. Very disappointing performance, very disappointing result. It's not getting any easier, as I say. The North London derby next week's really important now, isn't it? Especially with Tottenham top of the league and us struggling so badly. A positive result could be the thing that kickstarts the season and maybe turns it around for Arteta. But I fear that if it doesn't go that way, we could be looking to make a change. I say yesterday's game a year after we sacked Unai Emery. Have we progressed since then? I really don't think we have. In fact, I think we've gone backwards. It's a really crucial time for us now, isn't it? A really big part of the season coming up to Christmas. We need improvements. It's got to improve straight away. So that's it there. Let me know what you think about the performance yesterday. Let me know you think what needs to change. Is it personnel? Is it the tactics? Is Arteta have got to take the responsibility for this? Please let me know what you think and in the comments. Stay tuned to the channel as well because there's lots of good stuff coming up. Tonight, I've got a live show, the Premier League weekend review. I've got Paul coming back. We'll do it again. It was a good show last week. So we're going to do this again. Look back on all the games. We'll be talking about this game as well, unfortunately, plus all the other games over the weekend. And then we're looking ahead, of course, to Thursday night's Europa League game against Rapid Vienna. Of course, the first time we can have fans in this stadium as well. 2,000 fans are coming. So we can talk about that as well as I look ahead to that game. And then, of course, it's a big one on Sunday, isn't it? The North London derby. I will try and get in a positive Arsenal podcast probably Friday. And then obviously I'll be doing another live watch along on Sunday as well. So lots coming up on the channel. So if you haven't done so already, please click the subscribe button down in the corner there. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up as well. Stay tuned to the channel. Lots of great stuff coming up. And of course, in the meantime, as always, come on, you Gunners.